MacLeod Ty. We are on episode 9, and now it's going to be a completely new format starting from this week, in that we are going to jump straight into section 1 with Around the World. So, today we are going to be talking a little bit about what we touched on last week when we had Les Dwo. If you haven't heard that episode yet, jump back and go listen to it. That was good fun. Towards the end of that first section, we spoke a little bit about Elon Musk purchasing Twitter. Woohoo! Big news, big news. A $44 billion purchase, I believe it was, more or less. And Elon has come in hot. He has come in hot, let's be honest, yeah? So have you seen any news about this?
Man, the Twitter streets have been abuzz. I've just been seeing lots of tweets from ex-developers and staff saying, well, this is my last tweet. I was responsible for this particular running of Twitter. So say it was for adverts or sponsored tweets. I was in charge of kind of the security. There's so many people that came to the fore and said, look, this is what I was responsible for. It's been good knowing you guys, but I've just been laid off. No, he came in hot. He came in hot.
He did.
Insane.
I think he's they said it was about 50% of the staff that has been laid off since he has taken over. Now, I think it's also important to note, I don't know if everyone heard or if a lot of people know, but he came in, obviously this was big news kind of early on in the year, but he tried to pull out of the purchase, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. But he was legally bound to go through with it. Les mentioned in the previous one the dangers of a person who has such a clear business strategy or such clear objectives, that could be a dangerous thing. Yeah. So basically, I just wanted to talk a little bit about like what the news that I found interesting about since he's taken over, because a lot has happened. So obviously there were these layoffs that you said in various different departments. It was in security, it was in advertising. Again, 50% more or less of the people. He dissolved the board of directors. And
came in hot there.
First day. That was first day. And he put in what people are calling allies of his into these positions of power. People that he knows, like these high profile people.
Yeah.
He said that the reason that he did this is that since he took over, there's been like a $4 billion a day drop in revenue. So I'm not actually sure, where's all the revenue come from Twitter? Would it be advertising?
I would have thought it's from advertising, paid paid tweets, etc. But generally, I think the fact that he bought Twitter, the people that sold Twitter, like Jack Dorsey, etc., those guys knew that it was already on the decline, and they kind of swindled him with how much they got away with at the end of it. 44 mil, knowing that there were so many intricacies that needed to be dealt with at the time.
Didn't the guy who sold the majority of the shares, I mean, the guy who sold it, he's also dissolved all of his shares, hasn't he? But he said, like, I fully back Elon Musk in this purchase. He's the right person to take it forward. Or clearly not the right person to take your money forward. Yeah, where's your faith? You're chatting smoke here.
Business is business, man. So, hey, guys are really just out for their own interests. You gotta respect the man. Sure. Yeah, he honestly just took it from a business point of view, got the job done.
But did you hear that some of these members were asked to return?
I did. I heard there was a court case that actually came against Twitter for, firstly, was the unlawful dismissing of employees without a proper notice. I don't think they gave them 60 days in total, obviously. So that was one of the repercussions for his kind of strategy.
But some people were asked to come back because some of the people that they laid off, they actually need those people to implement the new things that he wants to bring in. So it's almost like it was a bit hasty, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, guys,
like a little bit.
honestly gung ho, and I think trying to make too much of an impact straight up when it could have been a gradual thing, you know, kind of
Yes, yeah.
get in, start integrating his people. Because I also read that he got some of the engineers that work at Tesla to
Yeah.
kind of come in and either
Get involved.
learn or already look to undertake some of the duties that the
Yeah.
previous technicians.
Well, I also know that some of the things that he wanted to focus on was like censorship, the rules on Twitter. You know, like he's trying to. He believes that Twitter needs more free speech, which
Ooh. So isn't
I don't
that
know,
a bit of
man.
a slippery slope then? Because
Yeah,
we always talk about freedom of speech and kind of the framework for it. How much leeway is considered free speech before it moves into hate speech, discrimination, that kind of thing. Yeah, I
exactly.
think that's something that would definitely be an outcome for.
Exactly. And I know a lot of like high prominent figures and big advertising agencies, I think Pfizer is one of them, have actually paused their advertising campaigns on Twitter because of the way that it's happened with the censorship rules. You know, he spoke about unbanning Donald Trump. He hasn't done it yet, but he did speak about it. He, when it comes to censorship, I know he said that one of the things that he was going to do was that, imagine it like a movie rating, right? So you can choose what movie you want to watch. And he said the way he's going to do it is he's going to introduce something, so to limit the toxicity of what you see, let's call it that. He suggests that there'll be like you can pick your level of content moderation. So if you only want to see 50% of the stuff being moderated by a team who would ever check the censorship, then it would be kind of controlled what you see. If you don't want any censorship, then what you see is what you see.
Yeah.
So basically, he said his whole new goal was that he tweeted this actually, saying Twitter needs to become by far the most accurate source of information around the world. That is our mission. Essentially, wanting to turn each and every individual into like a journalist, I suppose, but somebody who can like.
Yeah, so essentially you're a mobile journalist. You're on the ground in whatever community you're in, and you're operating as the live feed of information, which is strange, man. Twitter, I think a couple of years ago, Twitter was kind of the go-to source for news.
Yeah.
There was a lot more verification, and this, I guess, brings into consideration the blue tick policy. So with him, I heard him wanting to introduce paid verification, essentially. So paying $8 a month, I believe it is, something close to that, for your verification. That then opens up the question of how valid is the person, because essentially people got their verification to confirm that they are who they say they are. You, Tyler, there's one of you that is actually operating under your name, under your profile. So
and you check, it's normally like prominent people that
in
are
industries.
verified, you know?
Exactly. So now there's that loophole of someone having the means and the funds to do so. I can just pay to be Tyler. I can save your profile picture, I can do whatever, but surely there is some level of verification.
He said that if you don't explicitly say that you're a parody account, so if you wanted to pay $8 to be Tyler, you'd have to say, like in your bio or whatever, you'd have to say like, I am a parody account of Tyler Mulvaney. But you know, for me, like, I don't know, it seems ridiculous, man, because like if you check, I don't know, like, so I like Twitter. I do like it. I think it's one of the funniest social medias that are out there. Like, you really see some funny things out there. But I think for me, like, when I see the verification symbol, it really helps me. So example, like when football transfers are happening, I find Twitter can be one of the most useful places to go. When you find that Fabrizio Romano is taking some time to let us know what's popping, we can go on there and we can see, okay, who's talking about what. And when you see someone tweet like Arsenal is on the verge of signing Lionel Messi, which we have been apparently for so long, you go and you check who tweeted it, right? You go check who's this person. And normally, if you see a very verified sign, you're more likely to be like, oh, this actually could be happening. Whereas now, what now? You know what
Yeah,
I'm
everyone
saying?
has
Like
the
how?
tick. Yeah, it's. I think his viewpoint, or at least his team, and I might be wrong here, but they're seeing it from a um, almost cloud point of view. So
Yeah,
almost that the tick is basically just from a promotion point of view,
yeah,
regardless
yeah,
of my let's say qualifications or my know-how in my specific
yeah,
industry. It's just
yeah.
the fact that I have a lot of followers. I can
Yes.
engage with a lot of people. So regardless of the information I'm putting out there, whether it's factual or not, I have the means to draw in a crowd.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
think you've seen it quite often because aside from politicians, sports stars, people in tech, etc., you get influencers, and influencers get verified. So I don't know if that was maybe some of the thinking that went into his decision making, but ultimately I don't think it's a really good plan because, like we
yeah.
said, we're looking for verification. We're looking for authenticity in who we looking to get information from. Like you said,
Yeah.
for example, football transfers. There's been 500 Fabrizio Romanos, and they might just change
Yes.
one letter
Yes.
or make it a lowercase in their name, and people run with it. That's, I think, one of the problems that we saw in the previous election, like US election, with fake news. People
Yes.
generally believe anything that you put on social media, regardless of
Yeah.
whether it's Twitter, Instagram, whatever it is. So we really need to crack down on getting the factual point
Yeah.
of view, and
Yeah.
verification is what I means to do that.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So like now for me, and I worry that the lack of understanding, because we all know that little blue tick, right? We
Yeah.
all kind of know more or less what it means, and I think people that don't really know what's going on won't catch on to the news that you might be able to pay for that blue tick now, right? So it's going to lead to maybe a lot of people will know that you can buy it, but a lot of people won't know that you can buy it. And then it kind of changes the nature of what it is. I did see, like right now, kind of just before we started recording, he's putting the actual subscription thing on hold until after the midterm elections.
Okay.
Because I think what they are worried, or what they didn't, it's again, it just seems like so reactionary at the moment. It just seems like all these things, you just putting them out there and you're not even thinking about like what's going on around you. It seems a bit like hasty. And maybe it goes back to like the thing of like being forced into the purchase. Because maybe he actually realized, okay, maybe there's not so much money. He's a businessman at the end of the day. Maybe he thought, hey, there's not that much money left in this, so now I need to kind of monetize my investment as quickly as I can. And maybe that's why he's doing all these drastic things, and cloaking it under the thing of like it's about free speech. But I don't know, man. Like it just seems like, again, it just seems a bit hasty, if you ask me.
Quite
And
rash. I mean, the concept of monetizing Twitter has been around for a while. I mean, there was talk about Twitter being a subscription-based social media at one stage, where you must pay to use Twitter. So obviously
Yeah.
that generates even more revenue for you, given how many people are on the daily engaging on Twitter. So
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that could have been another option. Maybe that's what he'd eventually work towards, but I think
Yeah.
there'd be far too much outcry.
About that, yeah.
Yeah, for people,
I think
because
so too.
more often than not, people these days are using Twitter for jokes, memes, and general entertainment updates. You
That's what I
use
use
it, yeah, on the off chance with news. I think news has kind of divided the people once we started speaking about COVID.
Yeah.
Once COVID came into play, then you had, a big divide in the world. How much validity are we getting from these doctors, the pseudosciences? So that was a bit of a mess, and I don't know if there can be a point where you get accurate, fair, and unbiased, factual
Yeah.
evidence and information being given out to people. Anymore.
Especially now that anyone can just be verified.
Exactly. So
it's just going to kind of make it a little bit
Yo,
more difficult. But
moving to unprecedented times, it's
Yeah.
really interesting just to see how it's going to play out.
I think we can keep our fingers on the pulse with that one and just kind of watch. Maybe he'll slow down a bit now that the ball is rolling. But I think let's just keep an eye on that. And let's quickly just hop in and say, we didn't say hello at the beginning, so if you are still with us, that must mean that you kind of like what's going on over here. So please feel free to do all the things. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. We're working hard at this thing, man. It takes some time on our part, I'm not going to lie, but it's good fun. It's good fun. Yeah. But yeah, all the support. Our subscribers are slowly growing, slowly creeping up. It's pretty dope.
I'm seeing those numbers.
Slowly, it's good fun. But yeah, please do that. And before we wrap up the Around the World section, I wanted to just talk a little bit about what's happening in Iran at the moment. So that is quite an interesting story of what's going on. So we know that Iran is a Middle Eastern country where there has been protests that have been going on for about 55 odd days by the time we release this episode. And basically what sparked it was Mahsa Amini, who was, if I'm not mistaken, she was detained after she was walking. I think she wasn't wearing a hijab, if I'm correct.
Yeah, she wasn't wearing it correctly, and she had.
Yeah, wasn't and then they detained her, right?
Yeah.
And she then died in custody, which obviously the vast majority of people strongly believe that that happened because of police misconduct, abuse, whatever you want to call it, in a country where there's been talks within the country, not from the outside, about how limiting it is, especially to women. And, there's actually no need to touch on anything other than the fact that women are in that country. The people in that country feel as if they are not given the space in which to completely express themselves. You know what I mean? And it's not even the case of like going against any religion. Or for them, I don't believe. It's kind of like, I think what sparked outcry in this is that it wasn't that she was doing anything overtly haram or like anti-Muslim, but like it was just like slightly incorrect, and it ended up with somebody dying. And we're so used to seeing students lead the forefront in change, and it's happening right now. Obviously, the Iranian authorities have spoken out, and they said it's the US that is driving these protests. It always becomes politically motivated. But I just wanted to ask you, like, what are your thoughts and opinions on like what's happening there? Students demonstrating, standing up for what they believe in after this tragic this tragic event.
Yeah, I give credit to people standing up for what they believe and fighting for their cause. Like we've said now, we've seen, I think it was 300 or so people that actually got killed during these protests over the past 50 or so days by security forces, which is unimaginable. I don't know how something that's based from such a good place. So it's really interesting to see the repercussions for something that I think the general society would consider as an important human rights issue. I'm not going to speak on understanding Muslim culture and that kind of environment, because clearly I am not someone that has enough information to talk about that. So I can objectively kind of see how at times it could be portrayed as Western world trying to influence their culture, because you'd need someone that has the lived experience, understands the livelihoods of their people, as well as the general customs and intricacies that go with this kind of their lifestyle and what happened in their respective nations. Speaking on this, so I think, given that it was their people coming out, taking to the streets, that should have been seen as the breakout moment to have a bit of introspection as a nation. Say, okay, guys, look, this is where we're at. This is kind of what your demands are. Where is the middle ground that we can find or work towards? What are the steps that we can start taking in order to make you feel seen, heard, as well as still keeping our traditions alive? I don't know if there is a middle ground, but there needs to be a platform for discussion about that. I think that's the difference between authoritarian rule versus democracy. So it can be quite a blurred line in some instances. But I think there needs to be a platform for discussion.
Well, like you said, the fact that, or we both said it now, the fact that it was, it's being displayed within the country. It's not being from the outside. Again, the supreme leader, I think is what the term that is it Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Sorry if I said that wrong, but like the fact that he's trying to point and say like, oh no, this is influence from the West, the US is influencing us. It's not really true, because it's actually the people within that country that are standing up against us. I mean, there was a 16-year-old there who was protesting, and she actually said, they can kill us, they can arrest us, but it is the start of their end. Maybe today, maybe next week or next month, but our revolt is irreversible. So, I think the fact that it's like internal and happening within the borders of the country says a lot. At the same time, Biden came out and he was like, something along the lines of, don't worry, Iran will be freed, we will free Iran. I'm kind of like, slow your roll a little bit. It's kind of, I feel as if that's stepping out of line a bit. Like, it's got nothing to do with you.
Exactly.
Just slow down. So I would say, not that Joe, not that he cares anything about what I'm saying, but, I think it's those kinds of things when they come out and say that make, they kind of give ammunition to people that are like, look, the US is interfering, when publicly someone like the president, senile as he may be, comes out and says things like that. It's kind of like, don't get involved in things that, to be honest, don't really concern you, because he's blaming it on you, and you speaking out is actually adding fuel to the fire, despite what you may believe,
Yeah. So.
And I think, sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's really, I think matters like this, it's really interesting to see how much, I think, so, and I may be speaking on the part of Western world, I don't know, where they look to try be helpful, but don't understand the constraints that come with that, or kind of the ballpark, the framework that they can work in to provide aid. What does aid look like? Are you saying you need to bring resources into the country? Are you going to provide a means of communication between the government and its and its residents? What is your level of involvement in your cause to help countries like this? And I think that's something that a lot of nations don't necessarily understand. And that needs to come from discussion, from enlightenment from the people. So the residents are the voice of the country. They know exactly what's going on, what are the
what
means.
they are willing to accept, what they're not willing to accept.
Because you can only help people, firstly, that want help, that need help, and that are able to define the kind of help that they need.
It's like there's no cultural context or no understanding of the, like, kind of read the room situation. Like Biden, he's blaming you for something, so just don't say it. Just shut up, bro.
Yeah, maybe
don't
just
say it.
pause.
Just maybe just, if you're gonna say
Listen.
anything, just say me keeping quiet is me proving that I have nothing to do with it. That's all you need to say. But yeah, I thought it was good news to wrap this section up, because I feel as if, again, students are often the people that are leading the way forward. And it's good to see in not just in Iran, but all over the world, that people are starting to work towards, this more sense of like equality, more sense of like, I wouldn't say democracy, but speaking up. And I just thought that would be a nice way to wrap up the first section. Just with some happy
reminiscent
news
of Soweto uprising. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of it started with our students taking a stand against, the discrimination that was placed upon us during the apartheid times.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
knowing that students or people that generally aren't always taken as the first point of call in society.
Yeah.
You always look
100%.
to government, presidents, adults in general.
Yeah.
But it's good to see that students are the voice of a nation as well. And through their work, through their involvement, these protests, again, like what you'd see with Fees Must Fall, etc., you see a big kind of wave that just gets bigger and bigger and gets carried through the voices of the youth. The youth have the means to, encourage and get backing for their ideals and their values. And it's good to see that people 100%. Are speaking up for things that aren't
believe it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it. Education, man, changing the world one teacher at a time. I'm just joking. But yeah, that was a really nice, meaty, kind of political around the world section. If you came in and you only planning on listening to the first section, then thanks for joining us. I would suggest that you stay and listen to the next section, because we've got a lot more going on. But if you are leaving, no worries. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and we'll catch up with you if you're staying with us in section 2.